welcome to another episode of the Filmocracy podcast. Again, I'm your host, Paul Jun, CEO of Filmocracy, joined by John Fitzgerald, CEO of iGEMS and Film Festival Mastery. John, how are you doing?
I'm good. How you doing, Paul?
It's very hot. I was bragging to everyone recently about how great the weather has been in California, but now we're like in the 90s, low 90s, like 90, which is hot for us. So I'm struggling.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is warm. I don't mind the heat though. I like it. I was in Ojai last weekend. It was almost 100.
I think that happens when you get old. You start wanting to be warmer and warmer until you move to the desert.
Which I will be doing at some point. I will be moving to
Oh,
Palm
you're
Springs.
you're a surfer, beach
I
man for
know.
life.
I have to have a place near the water too, but I like to golf, so Palm Springs offers plenty of that.
Mhm. Well, today we're going to be talking about film festivals, specifically the big festivals that are so important to this fall festival season, um, and a lot of interesting things. So, John, why don't you kick it off?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Paul. I think it's fun that when we kind of start to slide into the fall festival season because it is the most important for many reasons. I'm sure some would argue that, you know, Sundance and the winter season is really critical, but I think the fall season is the most important on many levels. It's certainly uh, the most crowded time of the year. And as you said, Paul, the oldest festival really kicks things off, and that's the Venice Film Festival. And I think August 31st to September 10th. I feel like this was the first official film festival, and it's the 79th year. So that kind of kicks things off, and I know you have some interesting footnotes on the history that you kind of wanted to share. So maybe you could give us some ideas there, and then I'll jump into the next one.
Yeah, I mean, so film festivals started in the 1920s as a counterbalance to the studio system that was becoming so powerful, and different countries wanted to fight that sort of cultural domination by starting their own film events in their country. So the first one was in Venice. Back then, it was called something else. It was the Venice Biennial Exhibition of Italian Art, and it's super interesting because it was a direct result of Benito Mussolini's enthusiasm for motion pictures. And he was wanting to use it as a tool for public relations and propaganda. So
Wow.
heavy politics involved in the creation of film festivals, which is so weird to think about what it's become now. Um, and I'm sure people would not be enthused with somebody starting a fascist film festival today. Um, but it goes to show, like, they actually started the whole jury thing, because before people would vote, like in a normal popularity poll sort of way.
Mhm.
But the Venice Film Festival started this jury so that they could nominate and win fascist films. One of the most important ones were from Germany, and Germans films won the best foreign film laurel four times between 1936 and 1942. And
Wow.
that led to a whole host of things,
That's
least of all
cool.
it's World War II. But, that's the history of the Venice Film Festival, which is
Yeah, it's a
weird.
great event. I actually had the opportunity to go. I was there, I think it was 98. Definitely late 90s. I was running AFI Fest and I was there, and it was so fun because they put most of the films on the Lido. So you're staying in these hotels that are on the sand. I saw Cider House Rules there, and invited it to play AFI Fest, and um, I don't know if he won it, but he was certainly nominated. Michael Caine may have won the Oscar for that. But it was a terrific film, and Charlize Theron, Tobey Maguire, I think. Anyway, great trip, great fun, great festival. And the next big one after that, which is completely different in so many ways, is the Telluride Film Festival, which is really unique in that they don't really announce in press releases what's in the festival. You don't know. You show up Labor Day weekend and you get your newspaper, your film guide, and it tells you what's in the festival. But their programming has been so amazing over the years. Everybody trusts it. It's a beautiful town, and people come there to see movies. It's cinephiles and of course it's discovery. But 9 times in the last 11 years, Oscar winners for Best Picture have had their North American premieres in Telluride. Slumdog Millionaire, The King's Speech, The Artist, Argo, Birdman, Spotlight. I mean, it's crazy, and it's always fun, Paul, to watch these festivals and what plays there and what's announced, and what's going to premiere in Telluride and what's going to premiere in Toronto, and it's these guys all jockeying for position.
Yeah, I've never had a chance to go to Telluride, but I really respect, I think even more now over the past few years, like the spirit of tradition, and
Mhm.
they don't release the lineup as you mentioned. And I think maybe a few years ago I would have been like, oh, that's dumb. Like, how are people gonna know and plan and prepare? But there's just this thing now where technology is destroying us, and it's a lot of like, what would happen if that we play this game with technology and we're just moving so far away from like traditional things that we don't understand the consequences of losing them. And I think having something like that where they harken back to like sticking to physical theater screenings and printing out, the actual lineup for you instead of making you like scan a QR code and stuff. Like at some point we are losing a lot by just like driving so far forward. I know this is like totally contradictory to what filmocracy is, but there's like multiple sides of this. And on the one hand, yes, we have to keep moving forward in a particular direction, but on the other hand, these pieces of tradition are more and more important.
Yeah, and I think to your point, if you're a cinephile and you just love movies, um, art house, indies, foreign docs, the whole thing. Most established industry professionals that have been going to Toronto for years will tell you that that's their favorite festival. It's just they love it. They love being there. They love just the vibe. It's very relaxed. It's in the mountains. I mean, it's just beautiful, and yeah, a lot of discovery, a lot of acquisitions are made there. A lot of films that are going to be released in the fall season are going to play there. But yeah, it's terrific. So let's move on to the next big one, um, which which is the Toronto International Film Festival, September 8th to the 18th. And this is kind of I think in some ways, kind of the big daddy. I think this is like the full meal in terms of just volume of films. They show more films than those other two events. And I think, in my opinion, it's the best overall festival in the world, just in terms of the combination of factors that we look at as film fans and as industry professionals and curators, quite honestly, because they really take care of industry there. You can have your industry pass and you can go to all the industry screenings. There's great parties and great networking, but it's a clean town, it's well run, it's organized. And from the community standpoint, people literally take their 5 7 day vacations during that festival season to go and see movies at the festival. So they really take care of the community as well, and they have great galas, and so it just really, I think, fires on all cylinders.
Yeah, such a great location, King Street, and they can support all of these screenings because they have so many venues there, tons of great restaurants, everything is within walking or tram, and public transportation is great. Some very nice high-end restaurants there. It's really a perfect city. And just to go back to the historical perspective, Toronto's International Film Festival started named the Festival of Festivals. And that's because their idea, their mission was to bring the best from all of the other festivals around the world into Toronto for a Canadian audience because they didn't have as much access. They didn't have their own Hollywood, but they were in North America. So by having their own festival of festivals, they could get great films from different countries and expose that to Canadians who really latched onto it. You know, they're some of the most critical and excitable audiences, and that's why a lot of films love to premiere there.
Mhm.
The timing is great, being in September, so I always love going back there.
Yeah, it's fun. There are a bunch of movies that have been announced, and we'll put it in the show notes just to see a list of all the films. But I know one of the movies that people are talking about is the new film from Sam Mendes called Empire of Light. It's a romance film, and it stars Olivia Colman and Tom Brooke, Tanya Moody, Colin Firth, and they're saying this is going to premiere there. Um, we'll see. Sometimes movies are said to be premiering in Toronto, and then somehow there's a sneak peek in Telluride or Venice. So we'll see. There's another film called Tar, an upcoming drama written by Todd Field, and it's about the music composer and conductor Lydia Tarr, and it's starring Kate Blanchett. They're saying it's going to have its world premiere in Venice, so we'll see. Will it be Venice? Will it be Telluride? And then maybe it'll end up in Toronto. One of the things I thought we would talk just a little bit about, Paul, because we do have an interesting combination of folks that listen here. It's like filmmakers, film fans, and industry professionals, and I think it's kind of fun to just explore the different types of festivals and what they mean in the space. And so we were talking earlier about Telluride and how it's kind of the perfect meal for cinephiles, right? You get to go into this beautiful place and you're in the mountains and you see these amazing films. It's very low key. It's more of an industry festival in a way than a community festival. Um, and then you go to a place like Venice where it's bigger and it's the arts and it's Venice. You're in Europe. It's just a different vibe altogether and a bit more of a circus, but it's destination, right? As a destination festival, also celebrating the industry, great place to meet distributors. And then you've got Toronto, right? That kind of checks all the boxes, right? It's industry, filmmaker friendly, networking. It's a great place to go. And the community loves it because they take care of their community so well. So in terms of just a regional festivals, I just thought it was important to kind of maybe talk about that for a minute.
Yeah, I mean, we see all different types, and obviously everyone is trying to aspire. All the film festivals are aspiring to be something on the industry level, right? Where people recognize you and media talks about you and everyone's submitting to you. It's a really hard space to crack, and that's why you have destination festivals or industry specific film festivals, or even like job specific types of film events trying to differentiate themselves, like Austin
Hmm.
does with writers.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, there's so much opportunity, but there's also so many films out there that you need these film festivals to go through them. Like as many film festivals as there are, there's multiple, exponentially more films out there that need
Yeah.
to be watched and judged and compared and accepted. So, you know, even if you find a film festival that maybe is not something that you've heard of, they could have some amazing content specifically around whatever topic that interests you. And that's the exciting thing.
Yeah, no, it's a great point, and because there's so many festivals now that they've literally broken into these niches, right? You've got all these fantastic fest, you've got all these sci-fi festivals now, you've got social impact festivals, films that try and make a difference in the world, and you've got festivals that are just short films. So there's so many different types, and I think the fall season is when you really get a good kind of cross section of many different types of festivals. And before we jump off the kind of the premium world class festivals, right? Of Venice, Telluride, Toronto. I think it's important to just call out the fact that even though there is some discovery at these festivals, that we just have to be honest about the fact that that this is the kind of the kickoff of the award season, right? This is like where all the prestige pictures land. They almost use these festivals as press junkets, right? They generate reviews and they're generating buzz, and then the films come out, in October, November, December to qualify for Oscar consideration. And there's no denying that that's the approach. It's not just about, oh, I'm gonna see if I can play my movie in Toronto because it's a great festival. It's timing, right, for some of these movies.
Yeah, we joke that all the festivals want to be in the fall so that they can be in Oscar contention, but really that's how it kind of works for a lot of film releases, especially from the studios and their art house divisions that really want to push that narrative that they are this festival worthy, festival winner, critically acclaimed type of film. You got to go. You got to be in Toronto. You got to be in Venice, and you got to get recognized.
Right. So I thought it'd be fun maybe just to talk for a few minutes about some of these other fall festivals that you know most filmmakers know about, but some may not. And to your point, some of them are very specific. As you mentioned, Austin is a great festival. Also takes place in the fall, very kind of writer centric. You got the Chicago International Film Festival. It's a fall festival, one of the oldest festivals in the Americas. Another festival that not a lot of people know about that is starting to generate a little bit more attention. Believe it or not, it's entering its 28th or 9th year, I think, this year. It's getting up there. Is the Cucamonga Film Festival in North Carolina. People rave about this event. I
Yeah,
haven't been.
I've never been to, but you always hear about it. And I thought it was actually an island film festival when I first heard of Cucamonga. Seems like something in the Caribbean, maybe, but maybe that's just my ignorance. But yeah, I hear great things.
Yeah, I have too, and I haven't been. And a few others that are worth note. Denver Film Festival, again, been going on a long time. Heartland Film Festival, another terrific event. This event's in October. Um, Mill Valley Film Festival, one of my favorites, been around a long time. And another newcomer, I believe it's being run by Tom Hall, who's been around a while, the Montclair Film Festival, terrific festival in the fall. Just a few more here. We got Napa Film Festival, right? Food and wine, good stuff in the late fall. You got the Nashville Film Festival, New Orleans Film Festival, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the Newport Beach Film Festival moved to the fall. And that festival has always done great things for filmmakers, striking distance to LA, so you can kind of visit the industry professionals in Hollywood. So yeah, there's a lot of great festivals, and again, as you said at the top of the show, this is the busiest season. So there are literally hundreds of festivals in the fall. Um, Speaking of which, Paul, do you have some filmocracy fests you want to share with the group here?
Always exciting things happening at Filmocracy Fest. We've got the Regina International Film Festival, which is in Canada, and that's actually happening right now. Um, Also, we have the Gift Fest, which is focused on young female and non-binary filmmakers. We have the Uptilt Film Festival that is in Dallas. Um, that's focused on female filmmakers. So as I was saying, like you have these very interesting film festivals that are focusing now on different groups because those groups now have become large enough that they need their own sort of communities,
Mm.
which is really exciting to have on Filmocracy. So definitely check those out. I would like to also just touch back on the history because I just think it's so fascinating.
Let's do
Um,
it.
because after the Venice Film Festival started basically just giving awards to the German films, the French government got very upset because they had the film The Grand Illusion in 1937, um, and they thought they should win. But of course, that did not happen at Venice. So the French government, decided that they were going to start their own film festival in the Riviera Maya, and they actually put it in early September originally so that they could try to extend summer vacation time period a little bit longer, extend the summer for a little bit longer. Um, and the interesting thing is the day that they opened was the same day that Germany invaded Poland. And so they closed
Jeez.
immediately until 1946. So they were like,
Wow.
they started, they stopped for the war, they came back, and then they really, started finding a lot of success, getting a lot of amazing films in there and supporting everyone, and also doing a lot to create the environment there. Like they built like a cathedral for some like promotional thing, and like that's kind of the thing with Cannes, right? People kind of do companies will do crazy things to promote the films there. Like Expendables brought a tank one year, and like Tom Cruise was flown helicopters, and it's just like wild and crazy things. So it's really toned down today. But yeah, that's the interesting thing of how Cannes started, and then New York Film Festival was the first one in the Americas, or one of the first, which was in
One of the
1960.
first, yeah.
One of the first. Uh, Not really as exciting though. They had this big art scene, and they wanted to have a film scene to coincide with it, and it has some audience, and it's a decently sized film festival, but it hasn't built that same cachet as Cannes or Berlin has over the years. So that's super interesting.
Yeah, I think as you mentioned, it can and the war kind of putting a hold on everything. I feel like, if I'm not mistaken, the Wizard of Oz played in that first festival, right?
Yes, yes.
That's crazy, right? Wild. Well, it's exciting. It's exciting that we're moving into this fall circuit for us film fans. It's a great time to see movies. Hopefully we'll be back in Toronto again this year, Paul. And yeah, it's gonna be interesting, right? Because hopefully COVID will keep itself at bay, right? Last year, a lot of these festivals were doing hybrids. Some of them canceled altogether. These big festivals we're talking about, Telluride and Venice, in person only, no more digital. I think Toronto is going to do some virtual screenings, although not all the films will be available virtually, but it'll be interesting to see. And I know, for film festival fans, they want to see movies in person, and they want to go to the parties, and they want to hang out and meet people.
There's nothing like seeing somebody in person, like you,
Yeah.
John. I need to see you soon.
Well,
All
I'm
right.
just happy to be here, Paul.
Well, that'll do it for another episode of the Filmocracy podcast. We will see you again next week. Until then, stay cool.
Thanks, y'all.